everyone. Welcome to the FutureDDS Dental School Experience Series, where we help you decide which dental school is right for you. Now, every school is unique and will provide you with a different experience. And we thought who better to explain to you what a school has to offer than a student who actually goes there. Our goal in this series is to give you a firsthand perspective of every dental program in America and ultimately help you make the right decision. So today we'll be showcasing Jeannie Tejeda, who is a D1 at Boston University School of Dental Medicine. How are you doing today, Jeannie?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thank you for joining us today. We really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Great, great. So, Jeannie, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, where you went to undergrad, and why you chose dentistry.
Undergrad, so I kind of stayed within the Terrier Pride. My road to dentistry has been a little bit kind of crazy because my mom's a dentist, but growing up, I she kind of pushed dentistry on us, and I said absolutely not. I think I was being kind of rebellious, and I said no, I want to do medicine. I really like it much better. And it wasn't until this, I think it was junior year of high school, I shadowed a cardiothoracic surgeon because I was really into surgery. So I kind of shadowed him for 2 months, and that experience really showed me exactly what I didn't want to do.
Mhm.
So after that experience of shadowing him, I kind of started seeing, well, I don't think medicine might be my field. Let me see if I can like dental medicine, since I was kind of between both fields. I started shadowing some dentists that were in my area, and I think that's where I solidified my love for dentistry, and kind of decided to pursue it as a career.
Okay, great, great. And I'm sorry, did you say you went through a master's program or you didn't?
I didn't. So I graduated BU with with my bachelor's of science
Okay,
in health sciences in 2018, and I went straight in.
okay. And so a lot of people that we interviewed, they kind of did like summer programs. Did you do anything? I guess you kind of found out that you didn't want to do medicine and then you wanted to pursue dentistry. Did you do any like programs just to kind of solidify the fact that you wanted to do dentistry, or you just kind of just applied and went with it?
So I didn't, because I did a lot of shadowing while I was in undergrad. So I knew I wanted to do it. I did some shadowing with my mom. I did some shadowing with, and that was during the school year. So that was senior year, summer. I shadowed maybe for like, I think like 2 months that summer, right before going into BU.
Mhm.
And then um, and then I think sophomore year, yep, it was sophomore year of undergrad, I got a job, a full time, not full time, but like I worked a lot. I tried to work as much as possible to kind of immerse myself very fully into the field. I worked at a dental office here, but not too far. And so I wasn't necessarily shadowing in the, at least when I was working during the school year instead of the summer. So the summer I would shadow in the actual clinic, but in the school year I would shadow in the front desk realm. So I kind of got the best of both worlds, kind of seeing how like insurance and how patient relationships work and scheduling and stuff like that. I did that for 2 years in undergrad. So definitely being very, very well immersed in my field for like almost 3 years in undergrad definitely solidified my passion.
Definitely, definitely. Okay, great. So you did have some type of experience. That's
Yeah.
great. So can you tell us a little bit about your school? I know a lot of people haven't necessarily been to Boston. So can you tell us like where your school is located within the city and how the city is in general?
For sure. So Boston University School of Dental Medicine is in Boston. It's in South End. It's really in a pretty quite diverse area of Boston, which I really appreciated. Um, Boston honestly is one of the best cities to be in. If I'm a little bit biased because I'm from here, but I think anyone can tell you that Boston is a great city for any students, especially students pursuing anything in the medical field, because of the amazing opportunities we have to network within our schools. We have 3 dental schools in, I don't know, maybe like under 10-mile radius within each other, as well as a bunch of hospitals. And so I think being in Boston for dental school was something that I really valued. And I think a lot of students, considering yourself probably, would say that Boston is a really great area to be in for dental school, considering um, within different other schools and just kind of having access to really great faculty and resources.
No, I definitely agree. I definitely agree. But your school, your actual school, how big is the class size? I know like we have a huge one over here. How
Right.
big is BU's class size?
Right. So BU's class size is actually 117 students.
Okay.
And then so we have, so that's our D1 incoming class, but then we also have a oral health master's program, and I think they're about 40. So um, we're not too big. We don't always take classes with them. I think they take two or three of the same classes with us, and then a couple more in the second semester. But for the most part, it's 117, which is something that I really appreciated when I was applying, because I really wanted something that was a bit smaller. I had come from a bigger school, and my program was a bit smaller, and I appreciated the fact that I can have those connections and those relationships that are a bit more close knit, because I'm going to a smaller school.
And so do you all take any classes with the medical students at all, or is it just pure dental students?
So it's purely dental students. As far as I'm concerned, everything that we've been taking is, we take similar classes and we interact a lot with the medical students because our library is in the medical school. We take some classes in the medical school. Like right now, we're in anatomy, and we're taking anatomy in the medical school, but we don't necessarily take like any classes with them.
Okay. Okay, great. So I know, you being from Boston, you going to Boston undergrad. Those are reasons enough for you to go to the dental school. But was there anything else that really made BU stand out to you that made you say, you know what, this is where I have to be for my dental school experience?
Yeah, well, there were actually a couple reasons.
Okay.
So I was saying I appreciated that it was a small school. I knew I would be able to build, long-lasting, solid relationships with the faculty and the mentors that I would get at the university. Another thing that I thought was really important for me was BU's commitment to the community. BU has a number of programs that do a lot of community outreach, and for me that was huge because I did a lot of community service and outreach with my neighborhoods and just my community in Boston. So I thought that was really key. Also, I spoke a lot with students. So I tried my best to see what the students were saying, like what did they like, what didn't they like. And I really fell in love with what the students were saying and how much they really cared for the community, how much um, BU, I think, did a really great job of finding really, really great students. And I think that shows the type of community that they try to foster at the school. So those are kind of the main things. I looked for the community. I looked for what were their core values, which a lot of it was community service and outreach, and just that close knit, small, nurturing environment.
Right, right. And kind of like you did, Jeannie, I think that, speaking to students who are at the school that you want to go to is huge because, certain things you just can't fake. You can't fake your commitment to the community. Like it kind of just like screams throughout your whole personality, how you talk about everything. So I think that's um, a huge way to find out if a school is right for you or not. Just kind of talking to the students, and watching our interview series, obviously. Um, so I want you to, we're going to go back in time a little bit. I want you to talk about your interview day. How was that whole process? Was it a one-on-one type of situation where you all in a group? Just kind of walk us through your interview day if you can.
Yeah, for sure. So interview day at BU started around like 8 a.m.
Mhm.
You get there, you go into a room, and I think it was anywhere between like 8 or 10 of us were in a room, and they give us breakfast, kind of the whole deal. We uh, academic affairs, student affairs. So you get a lot of people to coming in and talking to you, trying to kind of immerse you into the school and see what it's like in terms of the actual interview. So you do a tour, and then you break for lunch, and then after lunch, students get pulled out individually one by one to go meet with their interviewer. And so it's not group style. It's very much one-on-one experience, and you go to your interview. It's usually about like half an hour, 45 minutes, could be longer depending on how the conversation's going. And then you come back in and regroup for a couple other talks, and then you're on your way. So usually you're out around like 4 p.m., three or four. Um, but I would say my personal experience with the interview process was really, really great. It was compared to my friends who interviewed elsewhere and my interviews elsewhere. Um, it was very relaxed, very chill. And I think that was actually something that I appreciated a lot because there's so much pressure. But once you make it to the interview, BU did a great job of making you feel comfortable. They did a really good job scouting you in the first place, and uh, checking everything. So they do a really good job of making you feel comfortable, making you feel welcome. And I think that the interview solidified even more that I really wanted to go there.
Right. No, that's comforting because, as we both know, it can be the opposite.
So
But, yeah,
nerve-wracking.
okay, so I know that you went from undergrad straight to dental school, so I know that transition was interesting. How did BU actually make that transition easier for you? Did they have like an orientation week, or right when you got there, did y'all have class from 8 to 5 every day?
Yeah, so I'm thankful that BU, we actually do a 2-week orientation
Okay.
period. Um, it's, I think, like mid-July, like end of July-ish to like the first week of August. So you get 2 weeks of just straight orientation, getting to know your peers, and they do a lot of social events as well. So you get to know faculty, you get to know upperclassmen, you even get like a big within your community. So you really get a lot of resources, a lot of people that you can kind of go to and ask all the questions that you need to ask. They give us a lot of time one-on-one with other students that are D2s and D3s and D4s, so that we can kind of get the real full experience of like, this is what you're going to get into. This is the classes that are a bit trickier. Look out for this, look out for that. you know um, I think they really do a good job of like setting us up for success throughout the school year with those 2 weeks of orientation for sure.
Yeah, great, great. So if you can, give us a timeline of your typical day. Like what time do you even wake up in order to make sure that you're at class on time, like things of that nature. We just want like a whole day's timeline.
Yeah, for sure. So when I read that question about, thinking about a typical day at BU, it's kind of hard because I don't think there's always a typical day at BU. For the most part, I will say, classes will start at 8 a.m. So knowing me, I'll usually wake up around like 7. And I live really close to school, and a lot of students also value living close to school.
Mhm.
So, wake up at 7, get ready for school, make it there. And then you'll be there for usually from like 8. You'll have 2 2-hour lectures.
Mhm.
And they usually have breaks in between. Teachers are really great about, kind of, they know that you're going to be there all day long, and it's a lot of material, it's a lot of class. So they give you, 10-minute breaks in between, and then you get a lunch break at 12. And then you'll go back from like 1 to 3, 4, 3ish, 4 p.m. to kind of finish off the day.
Okay.
Um, so that's usually for a first year, that's a pretty typical day. On Thursdays, we have SLC, which is the simulation learning clinic.
Mhm.
It's basically where we work with our mannequins and kind of practice our hand skills. And that's usually Thursdays from like 1 to 4, 1 to 5. So
Well, so a quick little insert question. Do you all have to spend a lot of time in the lab after hours or?
to be completely honest, for as first years, not really.
Okay.
I don't think a lot of us really spent too much time after.
Right.
after and we usually end up leaving quite early, to be completely honest. So
Okay. No, no,
um,
no. 'Cause, that's how it is here also. I remember first
yeah.
year, granted, we do a little bit more practice, but now that I'm a second year, and all we do is just lab projects back to back to back. I mean, I'm in lab every day, all day on the weekend. So I want to just see the comparison between the two.
For sure, for sure. I think we do a lot more didactics as D1s, and even now in the second semester, we're doing a little bit more like clinic work. Like we're in the labs a little bit longer,
Mhm.
but not as long as D2 and D3. BU does a great job of kind of easing us in. So you're mostly in the didactics, kind of taking classes, getting those classes in that you need, and then second semester they give you a little bit more clinic and kind of get fully immersed second year and third year, because I know second year is like living there.
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough, but you'll be here soon, definitely. Um, so, say somebody watches this interview, right? They watch this interview and they're like, you know what? Jeannie has sold me on BU. I love BU. I want to go to BU. What is something that you would tell them to make sure was on their application? Whether it's a lot of community service hours, whether it be a lot of shadowing hours, like what would be that one thing that BU loves to see on somebody's application?
Yeah, so I think one thing that BU really loves to see is community involvement and community engagement, as well as, a lot of clinical experience and kind of making sure that this is the career for you. So make sure you get all those shadowing hours and all those like clinical experiences, as well as giving back. BU loves to give back. So, try to be as involved as possible if you can in your undergrad with extracurriculars, volunteering, just making sure that you really care about the population that you hope to serve in the future. I think that's really key for BU.
And I mean, that's also key, just being a dentist in general,
Right,
everybody. Like, you
right,
should give back to the community at all times. So, okay.
exactly.
So I think a huge topic just in general right now is kind of like it's like mental health. You know, I think a lot of people don't know or are nervous about the whole work-life balance situation once they enter dental school. So I wanted to ask you, how do you manage your, I don't want to say your real life, but your social life, your personal life, and your dental school life at the same time? How do you manage that?
Right, for sure. So I think the key to that is making sure that you're staying organized. The thing that I value most is having my schedule for, like, basically in undergrad you can, I mean, sorry, in dental school you can't work like in maybe undergrad or back then. But basically they give you your schedule from um like August until December, and then like mid-November basically. So you know what you're going to be doing every single day for the next 4 months. And so it gives you a lot of time to kind of plan accordingly. So you know when all your exams are, you know when all your events that you have to be at are. And so you can kind of plan that in your agenda. Like I'm a huge about agenda and like staying organized and planning things out so that you can kind of squeeze in time for your family and for your friends and for that kind of mental health aspect. So if I would say one thing that would be really important is just making sure that you're doing things that work for you. Like if you know you're someone that like uses Google Calendar a lot, make sure you're putting in all those really important dates in your Google Doc. Or if you're a person who likes agendas and like writing like me, just make sure you're doing whatever you know works for you so that you're maximizing the amount of time you have studying and getting those commitments fulfilled. Like making sure that you make time and planning strategic times for your family and friends and at the gym or whatever it is that you really like to do to keep you kind of sane.
And so does BU have any programs to kind of like, I guess, calm people's nerves or just make sure that people are mentally stable throughout the process? Does BU have anything for that?
Yeah, so I think in terms of like making sure that students are stable, they try to make sure that we as a community help each other out. So we have mentors, like D2s and D3s that you get assigned to, and so they check in on us very often. In terms of like student health is always there, and they're always sending us. I think like every month we get an email from student health, kind of giving us tips and tricks on how to stay sane and how to make sure that you're balancing your work life, school life commitments and stuff like that. So I think BU as a community really just checks in on each other. I think one of the things that I really thought was so special was we had a really crazy finals week, and the dean of our school just kind of stood at the beginning of at the front of the school and just kind of greeted everyone on their way in. And I was like, wow, like that's just so awesome that like our community within itself tries its best to check in on each other. And I think that's really important.
Right? It's the little things that really do matter, right?
Oh yeah.
Definitely, definitely. Okay, so I know that you're not in clinic yet, but can you kind of give the viewers a timeline of when you'll start clinic, or like, do you all have assists now and you start clinic your third year? Like, what does the whole clinic progression look like within your school?
Right. Right. So in terms of clinic, students BU start clinic the after the white coat ceremony, which is after the second year is complete and
Mhm.
boards are passed. So basically, that summer that you finish D2 and you finish your white coat ceremony, you start clinic. So technically into your third year is when we start, but there's so many opportunities and kind of requirements that BU puts in place so that we're staying engaged with the clinic. So I think we have mandatory like 2 or 3 mandatory sessions that we have to do, but there's so much opportunity to get involved and to go into clinic. I've gone in at least like 6 times because you'll have upperclassmen who say, hey, like I'm working on this really cool case, do you want to come in and check it out? And it's just like, of course I would love to check out what you're doing, like gold crowns or just really cool cases. And I think it's important to like get involved, and BU does a really good job of helping you do that with making it a requirement, but also just smoothing it out. So we have a lot of also like trainings for clinic, so they kind of teach you how to use the systems, stuff like that, and they kind of give us workshops on that already as a D1. And you kind of think like, well, this is kind of pointless, I'm not going to do this for another 2 years, but you really start to pick up on it with the progression. And I think it's their way of easing us into clinic before getting there and kind of being like, what, I don't even know how to punch in these numbers or like what this
Yeah.
is.
How to use that? Do y'all use Axiom?
We use, I don't know what access is. maybe we do, and I just haven't heard about it just yet. But so far, we've only been introduced to the Salute software.
Okay, yeah, so yeah, y'all use that. Okay, yeah. 'Cause if you all had accent, you definitely would have heard about it. That's all we
We would
use.
know, yeah.
And it's like crammed into my brain, and I'm like learning how to use it now, and it's like it's a whole nother language, you know. But yeah, you'll see soon.
Yeah. At
You'll see.
first, so we have like 3 sessions, and the first session you were just like, "What is this?" But then
Yeah,
we had our second and our third, and then you kind of just start to pick it up.
yeah, right. Definitely. All right, so one last thing for BU. Name something that has made your BU experience unique. Like, what's something from BU that you know you would never get at another school, and that is just super, super special, and individual to BU.
Yeah, so I think one thing that I think is super special about BU is their APEX program,
Mm-hmm.
as well as their externships. So the APEX program is basically an 8-week period where students are, and it usually happens after your first year. So for 8 weeks after your 8-year finals, for 8 weeks you can go and assist the doctor to see background experience, and you know what teeth numbers are, you know you have a lot more dental background, go into a clinic and kind of see how things are running. And I think that's a really special program about BU because it's their way of immersing you into real life, helping you create, relationships with providers that could potentially be your employers. I know some D4s who are going back to work at their Apex rotation location. So I think that's really, really great. And I don't know that too many schools are doing that. I think additionally too, BU is one of the only schools that has digital dentistry. So I think that's huge. I think we're one of the only schools where students who are still in their graduate profession, not residents or anything like that, can actually place implants. And I think that's very, very rare. And I think that's very special. And that just goes to show BU's commitment to their students and to the learning and to the success of their students.
Okay, great. Jeannie, you have been a huge help. You know, you've been great. Um, do you have any last words of advice for our viewers? Not even necessarily if they want to go to BU, but if they're just applying in general. Do you have any, that one piece of gold that you want to give to the viewers?
So I would give 2 pieces of advice. So
Okay.
one piece of advice would be to plan accordingly. So plan your application, plan your dates for your DAT, plan even your classes in undergrad. Like talk to other students and say, hey, like, can I take these 2 classes together? Like, would that be smart? Ask and plan accordingly, because if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And then more than that, I'd say to believe in yourself. Like, how hard you put in the work, how much it would mean to you to pursue your dream career. So just believe in the amount of work and the dedication that you've put in, and everything will work out.
Great. Thank you, Jeannie.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
No problem. I mean, if you wouldn't mind, is there any way our viewers can contact you if they have any other questions?
Yeah, of course. So I have an Instagram dedicated to my dental journey. So it's the dental at follow my journey, ask me any questions, absolutely anything. Nothing is off limits.
You actually froze right before you said the name. So if you could just repeat it one more time so that we can make sure that viewers get it.
No problem. So yeah, so I have started an Instagram dedicated to my dental journey. So it's at the dental Jeannie. Jeannie spelled Jeanny. So on there, I'm kind of sharing, what my experiences are as I go through my entire dental school experience. And I am open to any questions. Nothing is off limits. So feel free to reach out. I'm always here to help.
Yeah. Everybody, please go follow her. She is a great resource. We here at FutureDDS, we're in dental school and we follow her. So that definitely should show show her quality of content. But on behalf of FutureDDS and all of our subscribers, Jeannie, we want to say thank you once again. We know you're extremely busy. So you doing this is huge for us and the community. So thank you again.
Yeah, this was my pleasure.
Great. So everybody, if you haven't already, make sure you go hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, as well as the notification bell so you know whenever we post new content. But until next time, see y'all later.